Hi, this is Becky Nunn with Nunn Design. I'm here in the studios with Beadaholique to show you how to make this hammered wire cup chain in epoxy clay cuff bracelet. What you'll need for this project is a pair of flesh cutters, a hammer, a bench block, some wire. We're going to need about a foot of a 20 gauge gold wire, some crystal clay. I've already pre-mixed mine, and about 1/2 inch or so of cup chain. For the first part, we're going to go ahead and take our 20 gauge wire and we're going to hammer it to give it this nice textured look like you're seeing in the cuff bracelet. To do that, you're going to want to take off about a foot or so of the wire, have your bench block and your hammer, holding your hammer tight like such, and you're just going to slightly tap it and this will provide a nice texture and flatten out the wire. So just go ahead and continue on to do that until you have about, let's just start with a good 6 inches or so. There we go. So after I have my wire hammered out, I'm going to cut various lengths to kind of make it look like that grassy look. So just go ahead and just cut some pieces and then we can decide where we're going to use them. You see how I'm using my flesh cutters and I'm holding my wire with my finger? That's to prevent that wire from shooting off across the room. So just go ahead and cut a couple of lengths, some short, some long. Until you have a variety. Once you have your pieces hammered, I just did a couple of them, but you get the idea. You're also going to want to go ahead and cut your small pieces of cup chain. Cup chain comes already on a retractable chain like on this, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut off 6 of the various cubes. But here's the tricky part. You see how that little guy right here, he will retract back up. He's got an extra little bit in there. So you want to try to make sure that you cut the cut chain flush to that, so that extra little tongue that slides back and forth in there is cut completely off. Here it is. Let's see if you can see it on this one. Nope. Oh, he retracted back up. Let's try the next one. It's okay if he does, but if you can get that little retracted piece cut off, here's one on this one. I'm just going to go ahead and trim that off. So for this bracelet, I used 6 of these tiny little pieces of cup. This is a great way in which you can use extra little bits of rhinestone chain that you might have had from a previous project. Now I have my 6 pieces of my cup chain. Oh, see, there's one of those little tongue pieces I was talking about. You have the 6 little pieces of the rhinestone chain, which is also referred to as cup chain. You'll have a bunch of pieces that you've hammered and cut into various lengths like you see here. And now we're ready to put the epoxy clay, the crystal clay, down into the base of the cuff bracelet. So I've already mixed this piece right here, and this is probably going to be too much, but we'll see. So I'm just going to pull off, I just took half of that because I just have a hunch that this might be enough. And what I like to do is roll it into a nice size ball. And then I like to roll it kind of into a snake. This makes it easier to apply it into the cuff bracelet. And so once I have that, I'm going to start to pat it down. And I'm using my thumb in kind of this kind of motion to spread it to the side edges. I'm going to use that in a little bit, and now I'm going to just go, so I'm moving this way, and I'm using my thumb in that same action to push the clay out to the sides, getting over to that side edge, and moving it slightly forward. So I'm using my fingers underneath to rotate, and my thumb on top to push that clay wherever it is that I want it to go. And if you didn't have enough clay, so example, we had just that amount, just work with what you have. And then if you need to make more by mixing the two parts of the epoxy clay together, you can go ahead and add some more. And this is showing an example of how, see how I added that extra bit in, and you just blend it together. And so it's seamless. You have 90 to 120 minutes to work with the epoxy clay until it starts to harden. So you have lots of time to do this. Right now I'm using my thumb to push it that way because I had a kind of a blob there. I'm trying to get a nice even surface all the way around here. At first this might feel a little bit awkward, but with time you'll start to get the hang of it. I pinched off a wee bit more. I know I have an extra little bulge right here, so I'm using my finger or my thumb to press it this way. And then as I get to that end, I can pinch off that excess. I was pretty close. This is how much I was off. All right, once you have your epoxy clay filled into your base, I've got a little excess right here. I'm going to pinch off that. You're going to want to use a wet wipe to go in and make sure that you don't have any of the clay on your hands or on those side edges. So I have a little wet wipe on my lap, and I'm going to go ahead and take that clay off my hands. And now I'm going to go in and remove any of it that might have got on the sides of the piece. Why this is important is because when this clay hardens, it's like cement and you won't be able to clean it up. So it's best to clean it up as you go. And it's best to always make sure that you get that clay off of your hands so that you don't transfer it someplace where you don't want it. And sometimes that can show up on fingerprints on the metals. All right, so there's a good idea of what we're looking for, is a nice, smooth clay laid inside. And you can always go back in when you're all finished and clean up even more. All right, so now we have that all in there. We're ready to start putting in our little pieces of metal. And this is just something that you're going to need to experiment with and see what looks right. But you're going to want to pick up your little pieces, and I'm going to try to figure out what side is my flat side, the flat side that's textured. And then you just lay it in, and if it looks like it's going to be too long, or you can always cut it again into the shape or the length that you like. Let's just save all of our little bits because who knows, we might use them. All right, so then you just lay it in, and I'm moving it so it's flush down to the base, and then just gently starting to press it in. And then you're going to just build out a pattern with all of these small pieces that you cut, making a little organic sort of design. Okay, I think I'm ready to lay in. I'll put one more tiny piece right there. It's not on its flattened side right there, so I'm trying to get it to be on its flattened side. Actually, I'm not totally crazy about that piece altogether, because look at the flush cut mark showed up. So you would want to use like a toothpick or something to remove that. Or you can use another bit of wire. If you get any clay underneath your fingernails, you're going to want to make sure that you remove that, because just like anywhere else, that's going to be hard to remove once it's cured. You have 90 to 120 minutes before it hits that place. Just good to keep on checking. All right, so that is going to be too long to put. It's way too long. Let's go ahead and trim this one off. And then this is going to be the piece that we add our cup chain onto, the little rhinestone piece. Let's go ahead and see where that little opening is. That's the part that we're going to want to just press right down in there. And then you just keep on continuing your pattern over and over again, and kind of trying different options as far as the length of the grass. This is that piece that I didn't care for earlier because it had a little bit of a cut mark that was showing that I didn't really like. But if I flip it over the other side, it won't be showing as much. Then after you're done, you're going to want to check again by going over it to make sure that all of the clay, the excess clay, is off of the side pieces and it's nice and clean and tidy. And then you will have a fun bracelet like you're seeing here. This is Becky Nunn on location here at Beadaholique. Glad to be here because this is a super fun project and I hope you enjoy making it.